Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. We have a jam-packed one lined up for you, as always. And if you are new around here, every single day we release an update just like this one. This channel's aim is to keep you up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space. And these daily market updates are not only to help you keep up to date with that, but also to kind of understand what's happening from a market perspective. You know, we look at the market from a technical point of view, and we also look at it from perhaps a fundamental point of view. Look at the macro, look at other markets, and correlate them all together. So if you're not already a subscriber, please do consider becoming one. A like and a comment is always appreciated if you've enjoyed this content. And without further ado, let's get into it all. And I want to just start off by looking at what it is we're going to be looking at in this video. We're going to start things off with a clip from Citibank, talking about this industry and that it's going to be measured by the billions of users and the trillions of dollars. We're going to be diving into that to start the video off. It's very important for me, and this channel was created for the sole purpose of keeping people alert to the opportunity that this industry is creating, is bringing. When was the last time our entire financial system was revolutionized? Certainly not in my lifetime. That's not happened. You not only get to witness that, but you get to be an investor in some of the blockchains that are going to play a role in that. And that is an opportunity that I think is worth taking. That's certainly what I'm doing from my own point of view. Then we'll look at Bitcoin, of course. We'll look at the charts. We're going to be talking about inflation. We have been for a few weeks now, before we saw the breakout for oil and other things, saying, look, keep an eye on inflation, keep an eye on the commodities. Oil, of course, looks like it's in a stage one. The dollar actually looks like it's in a stage one. Yields are going very high, which we're going to look at. We'll look at the probabilities of another rate hike. We'll talk about some news that happened today in regards to the German factory orders, which came out significantly down. This is why I think the dollar, or one reason why I think the dollar is being so strong. And then we'll finish on Coinbase's layer 2 network base suffers first major outage since launch. One question that people get is, well, why on earth would people use public blockchains instead of create their own? Well, what we're seeing happening with Base is a perfect example of that. You know, tried and tested is decentralization is not just a gimmick. You know, it actually has a security, efficiency factor to it. And on top of that, you've got to think of many of the big companies that can do that. There's lots of smaller ones. For every big company that there is that has the money to facilitate their own blockchain, there are probably tens, if not hundreds of competitors that don't have those capabilities, that may look for options in the public space. And actually, those options could potentially be better ones. So we'll discuss that in a little bit of detail. Let's start things off with this clip from Citibank, talking about this industry and where it's going.
Where are we up to with that trend?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and very timely for us at Citi, in the department that I work in, Citi Global Insights, because we just published a big report on tokenization and blockchain. It's titled Money, Tokens, and Games, Blockchain's Next Billion Users and Trillions in Value. Now, like you said, the potential for tokenization via blockchain, it has been talked about quite a lot in the past, and we think blockchain is quite different to other types of disruptive technology because it enters the sphere of money and value, and it enables us to transfer money. Now, we're not at the point of mass adoption, because to be powered to mass adoption, it needs certain things. It needs the support of big ecosystem players as well as their involvement, so sovereign institutions, big financial institutions, big corporations, etc. And it needs collaboration amongst different participants, standardizations of platforms, interoperability, and compatibility with existing technology and software. So it's going to take some time. And blockchain is not going to have a, chat GPT moment. It's a different type of technology. It's a back-end infrastructure technology. It doesn't have that prominent user interface, which makes it more difficult to see and feel how it is innovative. But we think we're at an inflection point, and that the growth of blockchain by 2030 will be measured in billions of users and trillions of dollars in value.
Well, that's very.
There you have it, guys. That's where this industry is heading. And we don't just think it's heading there because of a higher up at Citi who's in charge of the kind of future of finance. Saying it, all roads lead to Jerusalem, so to speak. I really do believe that, this industry is transforming the entire world, and not because it's cool, because it's the technology behind it is a revolution like the previous ones that we've seen, like the internet. We certainly find it very hard to even imagine a world where the internet didn't exist now, but there was a time where it didn't. And when it came about, people would have greeted it with the same skepticism they see blockchain in today. It's very interesting. Let's dive into the charts, guys, and then we'll move on to everything. So the plan for Bitcoin. It's something we've been talking about for a while now. You are still currently adhering to market structure, and you're still currently holding your 25K. It can be a neckline both ways now at this point. You could have this inverse head and shoulders. You could have the one over here. September is, and we shared this yesterday, the worst month for YouTube views. Okay. And that echoes through to the markets. You got to think September's a transition period. People are going back to work. People are going back to school, whatever it may be. It's often a time when there's lots of things happening in people's lives. Summer's coming to an end. And that plays out in the markets. And September's historically, with a mean of -6%, a bad month for September. So if Bitcoin sold off 6% from where it is today, that's taking you down here. And we've looked at a number of scenarios. We've looked at potentially some kind of an Elliott wave theory structure. I'm not an Elliottician, but I do think the market plays out in threes. You'll see threes in most patterns. And we're really saying, okay, well, there's a bear and a bull with Elliott wave theory structure that kind of ties in with our chart analysis bear and bull. So this is the bull and it's done and then you're off. And this is a prospect that we've been looking at, this is it, which ties in with if we use that as a neckline, potential head and shoulders pattern. And then you go on for, this would be a 1, 2 into potentially a 3. So we've looked at a number of things. There's a number of, right now, for me, I would say you're expecting more downside throughout the month of September. There is too many things stacked against you to expect this to turn around. And until the price on a short-term time frame, weeks up to a month, shows you that it wants to go in the opposite direction to what you should expect, you expect more downside. I really do think it's that simple. For me, I'm okay with either it turning around here or us seeing that downside. You need to take, for me, 28,500 for me to start getting a little bit bullish again. You could see a rally up to it, but you could easily retrace from it. And that would give you that pronounced right shoulder that would give more credibility to this head and shoulders pattern. This is not confidence right shoulder structure. You could just dribble to the downside, which would kind of throw the whole pattern, in my opinion, a little bit out the window. You need to see the market show its hand in regards to being bullish. Expect more downside here in the short term, in the month of September, into what I believe is going to be a pretty spectacular end to the year. So from a price point of view, it's very boring and lackluster. And actually talking about September and expecting more downside, you've got a number of things against you right now, like an exceptionally strong dollar. This, I would now say, is in a stage, basically coming into a stage 2 breakout, which could see it gain significant upside. The yields are nothing short of very strong. Can you see this gap here? This is a momentum gap. Now, whether it gets filled or not, it could do, is still to be seen. But, when do you see this on the yields? So there's something colossal going on. You've got crypto and, at the smallest asset, and then you've got the kind of big markets at the top, the debt market being the largest. No one wants debt. And actually people are saying, oh, well, that's very negative we've seen a historic trend with debt going up, QE over the past 40 years, and the stock market doing the same thing. Now debt's going down, everyone's going, shit, stock market's in trouble. However, I actually think there's a flip to that in regards to the traditional norms being flipped. Debt was the place to be. Now you have the choice between owning debt, or you have the choice between owning a company like Microsoft that will pay you dividends. It's an actual company, and there's something behind it, rather than the government just telling you, okay, here it is, this is money. You're betting on fiat, which is a failing system. So there's a lot going on. So debt is doing very well. Debt is ultimately driving the dollar. The dollar is getting driven by a number of things. This dollar strength has really came in since we've started to see inflation fears. This is South Korean inflation. You can see a sharp spike back up. Of course, this is Saudi Arabia and Russia extend production cuts to December. We haven't got CPI until next week, the 13th, but it is expected to come out higher than the previous one at 3.4, having been 3.2 and the previous one 3.3. So you've got a lot of headwinds against you. And you've got a stock market that I think is a little bit indecisive right now. You know, we have higher targets for the stock market. We think the S&P is going significantly higher. And we think there's going to be an AI narrative in that. There could be a people not wanting to be in bond narrative in that. But it could have a bit more of a rest here and do something like that. We never really got a proper retest from this head and shoulders. And that would be pretty bad for Bitcoin and crypto. We will see though. We're holding off for now, calling complete. Okay, right. You know, this year's likely not going to be a great one. Really, for this to break, we need to see things happen. Right now, here you're at a kind of no point of control. This needs to break, and a lot needs to happen in other markets. Like the dollar needs to see that stage 1 breakout. We need to get that confirmation for inflation. Yields need to keep going high, and the stock market needs to sort of roll over a little bit. It's not happened yet, so we're not calling sort of prolonged bearishness. We're just calling short-term bearishness for September, potentially into October. Inflation needs to be watched. The Fed are likely not going to hike in the next meeting, which is 14 days away. But we'll see. CPI could really tip this. Something else could come out that tips it. This could be wrong. It's usually quite right. And I actually think even if they did pause in this one, they could try and do next month we'll do another one and just go on a completely different playbook. So we'll see what happens, guys. It's going to be a case of watching and waiting. Short term, just like we expressed our uncertainty here about going up or down, and then but we knew a move was coming. You did get the downside move. We're expressing it again here. Unfortunately, guys, there are times where I just have to say I'm uncertain, but I would expect continuation to the downside in the short term. It will turn around eventually. You are on the cusp of global recognition as an industry. When Bitcoin does get that spot ETF, and Bitcoin could be a $10 trillion asset. Altcoins will benefit from that, and eventually we'll have altcoin ETFs. We're seeing more and more altcoins step into sort of regulatory favor. And ultimately, we know that it's the altcoin market that potentially has more transformative value to the traditional financial system and inclusion than potentially Bitcoin in terms of tokenization and everything. To finish things off with a little bit of Coinbase news, of course, Coinbase's Layer 2 network suffers first major outage since launch. We are going to be buying crypto-related stocks and other stocks that have involvement in crypto that aren't traditionally crypto stocks, although that is going to be for another video. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Expect more downside for the month of September until the price shows you otherwise. That's all we've got for you. Stay focused, guys. See you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.